And welcome to Writer's Life, a place where you get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life and where you get the fucking truth. Had to add an F-bomb just because I wanted to. About the writer's life. Subscribe if you haven't already. Punch the like button and tap the bell for notifications so that you don't miss one single exciting video. Also, don't forget to go to the store at www.vinzandri.com. V-I-N Zandri, you know the name, .com, and buy some books and escape. Buy some pulp fiction. So I'm coming to you late today because I had lunch. I took some time out of my day to have lunch with an old friend I haven't seen in 10 years. She is in Chatham, New York. I don't know if anybody has been upstate to Chatham, New York. It's a really cool little town, artsy town, a lot of eateries. An old train still runs through it and stuff. I like that. And they actually have a fairly popular movie film festival in the fall. I've never actually been to it, but if I'm still around this fall, I will go to it. I think a lot of these neat little towns in New England, whatever, trying to transform themselves. A lot of them become artist communities and stuff like that. Anyway, that's not what this is about, although it has to do with the arts. Anyway, so we had a lot of catching up to do, and naturally, we talked about writing. Now, this person is an uber accomplished journalist, freelance magazine journalist. I'd say, aside from my gigs with RT and a couple other publications that I've got under my belt, this person is kicking my ass. She's written for National Geographic, Travel and Leisure, a whole bunch, like, a real Martha Gellhorn sort of. And I'm proud of her for that. She's that good. She's an editor and other stuff too. But we got to talking, and she was curious about, you're putting out a lot of books, and my being a hybrid author. I publish traditionally, and I have my own company, and she was kind of interested in the independent side of things, because she's like, God, remember when, she's about my age, and she's like, remember when, like, saying, even just uttering the word self-publishing was just it was like evil. You just didn't mention it. You didn't even talk about such a thing, because it kind of equated with you're not worthy of being traditionally published. And so I was explaining to her a little bit, and then she went out. And then she wanted to tell me that she has 3 finished nonfiction manuscripts that have been just collecting dust. And I'm like, God, you got to get those out there. But she said, yeah. And I was like, just put them out there, and get them going, and, and she said, well, I really want to have at least one of them published traditionally first. It's just a goal of mine, and whatever. And I completely understand that, especially for people of my generation. Whereas, like, my son's generation, they go straight indie. Like, they don't even consider. Most of them don't even consider, like, a traditional contract. They're like, why would we do that when we could just do it this way, And anyway, go to Wattpad or, any of those other things. But, and I couldn't blame her. But when she mentioned, like, I have to get an agent first, I was like, oh, the time we waste when we don't have that much time to go. Not that we're, not like we're old or anything like that, but we're middle-aged. But I wanted to be like the agents that are folding, or the agents that just aren't, that are actually cutting their lists, the agents that are just going part-time. When I first got my first big deal, there was something like 60 publishers out there. Now they're down to 4, maybe 3 and 4, I guess. If you include APUB imprints like Thomas and Mercer, it's 5. But, it's just brutal now, and we talked about advances, how like, they've gone down to below 10,000 to like 6,000, 5,000, even 3,000. So, I mean, it's easy for a guy like me to talk about the positives of being at least a hybrid author, like, and or even just completely go indie. But I understand that desire. I totally understand that desire to have at least one traditionally published book. And I still even kind of say, or I hold to the belief that even a newbie, of which she is not, she's a seasoned professional, but even a newbie should have at least one traditionally published book, just so they know, or that in the world knows that they're worthy of a traditional deal, that they're good enough, is what I'm trying to say, right? As for me, I got like 60 traditionally published books. I got 2 more on the way this year. And I got like close to 70 independent books, and I'm hoping to have 100 products by the end of the year. That's still my goal. Hopefully I make it. If not, I'll make it soon after. But I left her, and I'll leave you with this really cool stat. Well, it's really it's a revealing stat. And I spoke about it in my 8th module for my course, the Writer's Life course that I'm doing. I spoke about it yesterday, but that was in private because it's a private video, which you can buy at some point. Anyway, here's the deal. 100% of the writers, fiction writers now, and this might apply to nonfiction too, but all right, stop talking, Vince. 100% of writers who consistently make $100,000 a year every single year are independently published authors. All right? Let that sink in. Category 2A. 25 to 35% of all authors who consistently make $100,000 or more per year are hybrid authors, just like me. That puts me in that category. Okay. Category 3. Trey. Guess how many traditionally published authors consistently make $100,000 a year or more every single year? Guess how many? Traditionally published, just traditionally published. Those who refuse to keep up with the times. Those who are still living in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Not even the early 2000s, but the 70s, the last century, let's say. Guess how many? Ding, 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 ding. 0. A big, fat fucking 0. What it comes down to is, if you want to make a good living being, at least, I can only speak for myself, at least being a fiction writer, you got to be at least a hybrid author or fully independent. If you want to go the traditional route, you're not going to make a living. You got to have another job on top of it. No question about it. All right, you guys, that's it for now. Sorry I came so late. Has anybody chimed in? I don't think so. No, that's good. You can leave a note later on. And I will talk to you tomorrow, God willing. Ciao, ciao. Not yet. Now, ciao, ciao.